The Children's Bible. Illustrated stories from the Old and New Testaments. Edited by Fiona Tulloch, Tracy Kelly, and Francis Evans. Narrated by Sarah Ovens. Introduction. The Bible is the holy book of Christianity. It teaches us the importance of having faith in God and Jesus, and how to live a good and decent life in the way that God wants us to. It also tells us how to avoid the temptations of the devil. Bible stories can be enjoyed by everyone, whether or not they are Christians. Everyone can learn from the wisdom and teachings it contains. The Bible is divided into two parts, the Old Testament and the New Testament. The Old Testament tells us how God created the earth and all the creatures that live on it. It gives us the history of the Jewish people up to a few centuries before the birth of Jesus. The New Testament tells us about the life and preachings of Jesus, about his death and resurrection, and about the early days of the Christian church. You can hear more about the New Testament later. The Old Testament was originally written in Hebrew and consists of 39 separate books. The first 5 books are associated with Moses, the great Israelite leader who led his people out of captivity in Egypt to the promised land of Canaan. The Old Testament story begins, however, long before the time of Moses, with the first human beings, Adam and Eve. It continues through the lives of the ancestors of the Israelites, such as Noah, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph. After the 5 books of Moses come the books of history, which continue the story of the Jewish people up to the 3rd century before Jesus' birth. Here we meet famous Israelite kings, such as Saul, David, and Solomon, and heroes such as Gideon and Samson. Following the history books, we have the Psalms and the Song of Solomon, which are books of poetry and songs, and Job, Proverbs, and Ecclesiastes, which are books of wisdom and advice for people. Finally, we have 17 books containing the words of the great prophets, such as Amos, Isaiah, and Jeremiah, who spoke the words that God gave them to take to the people of Israel and Judah. God wanted to assure his people of his constant love for them, and also to warn of what would happen to them if they did not change their bad ways. God also promised to send them the Messiah, which he did. This was Jesus. The Creation. Genesis chapter 1, verse 20.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?